Welcome to Bigfoot Collectors Club, The Other Side. Riley,
Michael,
there's only one way to begin this episode.
I think I know how.
In the history of cinema, has there been a theme played more in one movie than that song from the movie that we're going to discuss today?
And also overlapped with just whatever at the same time.
Yeah. It doesn't matter what mood is taking place.
Nope.
It can play in any scene, any level of intensity, any type of drama or romance or horror. It doesn't matter.
Of the above. Yeah.
All the above.
Slapstick, like Benny Hill comedy.
Yep. Yes. Oh yeah. The monkeys stop motion bucket scene.
What the fuck?
We're going to get into it. Hi, everybody. Welcome
Hi.
to BCC, The Other Side, the parallel dimension of Bigfoot Collectors Club. I'm your host, Michael McMillian. With me always is the lucid dreaming Lemurian.
Sleepy Riley Bray.
That's right. Sleepy Riley Bray is back, everybody.
Had a nap, ready to rock.
That's what the far right calls you. Sleepy Riley Bray.
Riley Bray.
Thank you. That was submitted by Sean Leslie, our
up,
friend
Sean?
over here, The Other Side. Submitted a nickname for Riley, and we'll throw it up in the show.
Yes, send him in.
It's a Bigfoot Movie Club episode, everybody, but you already know that. We are watching House, or we did, the 1977 horror film. Has nothing to do with the previous House movies, House or House 2 that we've seen
Not a
before.
thing. Nope.
But I think you could include this as part of our House series. And I would ask you, Riley, and the listeners, which is crazier? House 1985, House 2, the second story that has a world of dinosaurs,
Right.
or this movie, House 1997, 77.
I didn't think it was possible, but I think it's this one.
I think it is too. As crazy as those other movies were, this
Truly
one's
crazy
crazier.
movies is what takes the cake.
Oh,
Yeah.
100%. So we're about to get into it, but let's swing over to Commenters Club
Oh, yes.
for a quick check-in. Now, the debate rages on about the movie we've been mentioning for weeks now, but didn't pick to watch this week. Nona chimes in to say, as above, so below literally is. Oh, why don't you take this, Riley? Sorry, I got too excited.
He's excited because it vindicated you.
Yes.
Literally is a found footage movie, though. It's one of my faves, and I've seen it probably a dozen times. Nona is an expert on this. The only footage that appears in the film is from the characters' cameras. That's found footage.
That is found footage. And then I said, I am confused. And
I am also confused.
And then Nona said, LOL, so am I. Maybe we should watch it and then let the Club Scouts vote whether it's a found footage movie or not.
And so we watched a 70s Japanese movie instead.
But you know what? We can call the shot now. Should we do As Above, So Below as our next movie? I think we talked about it enough.
We need to watch this movie.
We need to watch this movie. So next...
I know that I've seen it. That was many years ago, and I remember almost nothing.
Great. So... next month, about 4 weeks from now, we will be discussing As Above, So Below.
Great.
The something year, possibly found footage horror movie about the Paris catacombs.
Made by director, question mark?
Made by, I don't have the information in front of me.
Starring,
It's clear that I know nothing about this movie. We're going to watch it. A lot of people recommended it, so we got to do it now.
I remember that I liked it, but that's literally the only and I remember that I liked the cover. And
yes.
I can't remember anything else.
Like Skulls Under an Eiffel Tower. Is that what it is? Yeah. Okay, great. We'll watch it.
It's red. Yeah.
Okay, let's get into House.
He does that really well.
So,
if you've seen the movie.
oh, it's so fun. The animated opening. Oh my God, we got to talk about it. Here's a synopsis. It's not going to do it justice. A schoolgirl and 6 of her classmates travel to her aunt's country home, which turns out to be haunted.
That is not even close.
It's not barely scratches. I mean, they don't even mention that this girl and her 6 friends basically are the 7 dwarves from Snow White.
Correct.
They all have nicknames that highlight their one-dimensional personalities.
Gorgeous, Kung Fu.
Gorgeous. See if we can name them all. Gorgeous.
Yeah.
Kung Fu.
Professor.
Sweet, prof.
Yeah. Sweet. Yeah.
Sweet. Melody and fantasy.
Yeah, and then the one that they keep calling fat.
Mac.
We did it. Mac
is quote unquote the chubby one.
Who is very much just normal size.
No, just a normal human being.
But she loves to eat and she has no qualms about it.
Yes. First to be punished too. For having that appetite. We'll get into it. Okay. So the director is Nobuhiko Obayashi. The writers are Chihoho Katsura, Chigumu Obayashi, and it stars Kamiko Ikagami, Miki Jinbu, and Kumiko Uba.
They're not bad on your Japanese.
Cold reading these names, not the easiest thing to do.
It's pretty close.
For a boy from Kansas, but I did my best. The film is available to stream if you have a Max subscription, and you can rent on other streaming services like Amazon Prime. And there's also the beautiful Criterion DVD, which is what we watched it on over at the Clubhouse the other night.
Popped over to Amoeba, bought a secondhand copy, played like a charm.
It's beautiful. And Riley was right, everybody. His 4K projection in the Clubhouse is delightful. It's great. Although
except I still haven't sorted out
sidebar. There's an issue with the volume.
Still haven't sorted out the volume yet. I for some reason, as using the digital output, going to these speakers that don't have a volume knob, and so it was just very loud. And I kept trying to adjust it, and Michael was like, "You pause it, start again," because he really wanted me to see the animated.
He had to see the opening of this movie.
Truly fantastic, but in like typical me fashion, I'm like, "All right, I can adjust the volume, but I need a screwdriver." Just I'm working on it.
Good old fashioned Millennium Falcon antics.
Very much so.
Needed a screwdriver to turn the volume down. Don't ask why. The answer never presented itself.
Don't worry about it.
I thought it sounded great. We were having a great time.
The 5.1 system's coming. We're gonna have full surround. This is gonna be a beautiful theater.
I can't wait. Okay, Riley's gonna roll the trailer, and when we come back, we're going to head into spoiler country and discuss House 1977. So if you want to watch, this is your last chance to pause this, go watch. It's 90 minutes long. It's not that long, and you can come right back. And believe me, you're going to have some thoughts.
You're definitely going to have thoughts. All right. Say the house. Bring us into the trailer.
House.
House.
スイート、私あなたを救えなかった。
I see in your eyes where tomorrow is hiding in my heart. There's a bell ringing loud at the touch of your lips. Down the rainbow, I'm sliding. Little arrows keep falling as thick as a cloud.
眩しくて怖いのよ、日の光が。かからないわ、故障よ。
Okay.
Okay.
Well, you've probably just come from watching House, and as I said, you're feeling some things.
Yeah.
Where do we even begin with this movie? Let's start with you had not seen it. What were you expecting, and what did you get?
I thought that we were going to watch some like hardcore Japanese horror.
Like
I thought,
The Grudge.
yeah, like stylized, scary, gritty, sort of reserved, dark Japanese horror. That's what I thought we had coming down the pipeline.
It's kind of what you're promised, based even on the poster of the like devilish orange cat.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? It looks like a very spooky, dark Japanese ghost story, like for sure.
Yeah, really what I was expecting.
But
then it opened up and I was like, first of all, it doesn't really get into any of the horror stuff for quite a bit.
no, I would say the first 30 minutes of this movie is a Speed Racer cartoon.
Yeah, basically, yeah. And like right off the bat, I was saying to Michael, I was like, wow, the like visual gags in this are nuts. Just like the way that it's edited, like, and like sliding frames and cutting frames and center punches and like everything's like hyper colorized and like the sound is nuts. Like
Sound is crazy. They
Yeah.
will take this Obayashi has no problem taking two different songs and playing them at the same time
at full volume
at
during
full
dialogue.
volume. Yes.
Just like, what the fuck?
Yeah, it's I mean I watched this probably I came to this late. I watched it probably during the pandemic, I think is when I first saw this movie.
Okay.
And I loved it. I mean, I loved it.
Me too, also, for the record.
It's
I'm on board.
insane.
Yeah.
It really is like this movie is, if you're wondering what the fuck we're talking about. So imagine a movie that looks like something Sid and Marty Krofft would shoot, like Sigmund and the Sea Monsters or Land of the Lost. A lot of early blue screen, green. I think it's all blue screen actually, because the green screen stuff was around. I think how they did some of the floating limbs and everything was like they literally painted the actresses.
I mean,
in
you
like
could
blue
see
paint.
like the cutout and some of it from the
Yes.
the composites.
Yes, it's like weird, trippy children's television, like early 70s children's television mixed with a splash of the Monkees and then Wes Anderson aesthetics and manga, like horror manga.
Definitely a manga influence, especially in the framing and the editing. Like you get these kind of like panels and like the way it sort of moves between them. It feels like you're reading a comic book. Like,
And he does things where like, it's the only time I've ever seen them do like an aperture wipe in the middle of a scene and then just come back to the same shot. Like usually this movie is so disorienting because usually methods that are like reserved for very special occasions in movies are just it's like he took every camera trick and just shook the box out and just wherever they fell in the movie was like where they ended up.
that is definitely like 100% true. I mean, you've got hand-drawn animation on stuff. You've got the zoom, the vertigo effect,
Yeah, the dolly zoom.
The dolly zoom, that's it. Yeah, so many composite shots, so many like center punch where just like someone's face will pop up in the middle of a frame, just sort of inexplicably. Like that point where you're like 30 minutes in where they just reintroduce all the characters and their names.
Yeah, there's an opening credit sequence to a television show, like a sitcom style opening credit sequence that happens 30 minutes into the movie.
Easily.
After the movie's actual credit. I mean, the movie's credits are where they should be.
The movie's been going for
But wait
a
a minute.
while.
Let's go back even further. The movie starts with, if you recall, a blue frame coming into appearance, and in the middle of it, it says a movie.
A movie. Yeah.
Just to tell, don't worry, everybody, because you're about to question what
Is this
you're
a
watching,
movie?
it told you at the top,
movie.
it's a movie. So if you're ever in doubt and you're feeling scared and a little overwhelmed and you feel like you're going to feel this way forever, just remember it's a movie.
That's true. It was nice of them to point that out early on. Yeah.
Like it is. I mean, this whole film is kind of like a weird trip. For
Yeah,
sure.
no, it's very like psychedelic, kind of sort of bad trip, kooky.
Mm-hmm.
It's not scary, you know, but there are some
No.
genuinely haunting moments.
It's
I will say.
unnerving. I would
very
say.
unnerving.
I would
Yeah.
say Mac's floating head coming out of the well.
Yeah.
It's super creepy.
The moment
it's funny, but it's creepy.
was like the actual sort of like serious, like chilling moment for me was when, I mean, we're deep into
listen, like this movie, we're gonna go all. We're just gonna be all over the place in this episode.
It's not really
we
a
can't
linear
go.
vibe.
No, there's no way we can do it. But I will say, spoiler country, everybody. Obviously, we're getting into it.
Here we are. But when she, you know, becomes the ghost aunt, when Gorgeous becomes the ghost aunt, and she's on the phone, and she's hearing the sounds of the war.
Yes,
that was genuinely chilling, and like thinking about like the bombs had been dropped on Japan like 20 something years before this was made.
About 22 years before this.
Like, it's just so hard to wrap your head around all that. And that explains to me like the sort of bonkers, like it's just like all over the place. And there's this tension between old world Japan and like 1970s Western rock and roll and all this stuff. And it's this jumbled sort of mishmash. And like, not to like make this like super bonkers movie like serious, but there is something serious underneath the whole thing that is like, I think was going on in Japanese culture and probably to this day still is like unpacking that like massive national trauma and what happened and moving on from, you know, a society that had aligned with fascism and got into this war. And it's like, there's so much to unpack there. And then, but it's layered on this layer cake of just like silly, zany, weird stuff. And I don't know. I found that I kept thinking about that, like on top of the fact that this was just like visually like a candy trip, you know, but there's an element to it that is like genuinely chilling.
Riley, I got to tell you this. I've been holding back this factoid.
Okay.
You have hit the nail on the head.
Oh, wow. All
because something that I learned looking at this movie and looking at the background is that the director survived Hiroshima.
Holy shit.
And every kid that who was growing up within his neighborhood was killed in the blast.
Whoa, no wonder.
Yes. So this is like him processing the fact that he lived and all the children that he knew died. I believe it was Hiroshima. I don't think it was Nagasaki.
Whoa.
So
wow.
So yeah, so he is directly processing the bomb in this. And the story echoes that in the sense that here is this woman who's the sole survivor basically of a village that kind of went into economic ruin after, you know, the war ended, and whose husband never came home. And the idea that she's resentful of these 7 girls who now get to go on and live their lives.
Right.
And part of she's a witch. Yes, she eats kids. You know, it is a Hansel and Gretel story in a way.
Yeah, fully.
She's eating kids to stay young and get her youth back.
Yeah.
But part of the vengeance is you should not be able to live.
Right.
Like, it's not fair that your generation gets to have rock and roll and Kofu fanged humanoids
Right.
and Godzilla.
Yeah.
And I, like, our generation went through this. The only culture to survive a nuclear holocaust so far on planet Earth.
Oh, Jesus.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it definitely seemed like a big theme of that was that this loss of innocence, because it is so innocent in the opening.
Oh,
it is
yeah.
so playful and cute and like all this sort of like Japanese stuff that like we love from that media. and it devolves into this like just
nightmare
psychedelic, like crazy deep subconscious trip out that. Wow, that's really interesting. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, so you are dead right. Like you're not overreaching or like reading too much into the movie. Like that's all in the DNA. And I guess Obayashi also, like before he made this movie, he was a commercial director.
That
which you
also
can
makes
see
so much sense.
The Japanese commercial, like if you've ever seen a Japanese commercial, like you know, like the kind that they parody on Simpsons with like Mr. Sparkle and that that whole
totally.
thing. Like that is. It's almost like every segment in the first 30 minutes is cut like a commercial.
It's like watching 90 minutes of commercials that just go further and further into like psychedelic nonsense land.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so he was not an experienced filmmaker, and Toho, this is the same company that did like the Godzilla movies. And he had given them the script and was like, I want to make this movie, and nobody wanted to make it. Everybody thought this movie was batshit insane.
Yeah, well, it is.
But like over the course, I think of like 4 years, because he was inspired by the movie Jaws. And like Toho wanted a Jaws-like movie, I think. And this is what he gave them. And they were like, what the fuck is this? We wanted Jaws.
It's like, well, this is what you get.
So it took a few years, but he finally they acquiesced and like allowed him to make this movie. And everybody hated it. And like at the studio.
I'm sure. Oh God. The studio execs must have just hated it.
And they put it out in a double bill. It was the back half of a double bill with like a romance movie. And I guess like the fucking kids loved this movie.
Sure. Of course.
And it became like a certified cult hit in Japan.
Wow.
And it was not seen in the States until like the 2000s or early 2000s. I think it was like late 2000s. It was like finally released and made available. I think it was
that through the Criterion release? Like,
I
that
think
what brought it
somebody, over? I have to remember, I have to go back and look up at the, like, it's like one of those like art houses was like, wait a minute, what's this weird Japanese movie? Let's do like an independent theater run on this. Yeah. And it did pretty well with like American audiences and film nerds, and people were like excited. And then Criterion put it out.
Right.
So it's more of a recent gem for US audiences. But it's a cult. It's absolutely considered to be a cult hit. It's considered to be like one of the top, 200 horror movies, just because of the weirdness that I think it's closer to 200, but like, this is a movie that's like made lists,
Yeah. I mean, I get it. I see it. It is like singularly unique. Like I have never seen anything like this movie.
No.
It references a lot of things, like, like you're saying, like the monkeys thing, like that whole bit where like the goofy teacher gets his butt stuck in a bucket.
And that's why he's late picking up the girls.
Yeah. Who, by the way, at the end of the movie just turns into bananas.
Yes.
Inexplicably.
The watermelon man, who turns out to be a spirit,
right,
turns him into bananas because he doesn't like watermelons.
Yeah. He says, I like bananas.
I have to also say, this movie is so Lynchian.
Mm-hmm.
The like, there are scenes in this movie that are straight up feel like they are out of Twin Peaks: The Return. Like the shot where,
I know what you're gonna say,
where Gorgeous is sitting in the mirror and her face breaks off and she's fire underneath, looks exactly like when Laura takes off her face and Laura's mother takes off her face in Twin Peaks: The Return. And there's like sort of that 2D flat, like, bad special effects underneath them. And I mean, I don't know. It's possible that David Lynch saw this movie. I don't know if it didn't come to the States, but like,
I bet he did.
He was in film school around the time this movie came out, or he was in art school.
Yeah.
But like, Because there were moments where I was like, wait a minute, is this a Lynchian? Could this be considered a Lynchian movie? And in a moment like that, I'm like, yes, absolutely, we can put this in the Lynchian bucket, because also absurd things happen and you just have to take them on face value
You just accept
for
them
no
and
other.
move on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like the guy that we have not introduced rules that the watermelon man is a demon, or can turn people into fruit. We know that fruit can turn into people or can be mistaken. Well, wait a minute. Because Mac's head, this is the question. When they're eating the watermelon after Mac died, are they eating Mac's head?
I think no. I think that the witch eats Mac. The witch doesn't let them eat.
Right.
Because she does that thing where she has the eyeball in her mouth and she's messing
and freaks out fantasy.
With fantasy, yeah. Which also is a great little bit. I get the sense that she has some sort of way of... if we were trying to establish rules of this world, which I also think you can't, but like that she can control perception to a degree. Like she's enchanted these kids. And so she can sort of control who's seeing the truth, who's not seeing the truth. Also, the cat...
Blanche. We haven't talked about Blanche yet.
The cat is in charge of everything, ?
Blanche is the queen of all of this. Blanche. Right. So Blanche is, I think there is, let me look this up. Let me make this sure. But go finish your point. I'm going to Google something while you're...
Okay, so yeah, I the sense that I get is that, and what we are explained finally deep in the movie is that the auntie, who is the witch, the older woman, her husband went to war. There's also a whole like mini movie in the movie that explains this.
Yes,
that's like in the style of old school Japanese.
Yes,
movies,
in which
was
kids
awesome.
are also seeing.
Yes,
like somehow the kids
commenting
are
on in real time,
commenting on the backstory and talking about like they are. It's like the kids are watching memories that nobody has.
No one
the
has
little
these
girl
memories.
doesn't have the memory. Gorgeous doesn't hold the memory to this.
No.
There's no book that they're reading.
Yeah.
Gorgeous just tells the story of her mom and her dad and her aunt. And the girls are like, "Oh, he's so handsome. Men were more heroic back then."
Right.
Like somehow so this movie like doesn't even break the fourth wall. It breaks like the fifth wall.
There's no walls.
Like somehow they does break the fourth wall.
She does. She looks
the witch
right in the
looks
camera.
at us.
Yeah.
But these kids somehow look back at the movie and talk about the movie.
Yeah, you're right. The fifth wall. But okay, so anyway, so the core of this is that her husband goes to war, or no, going to be husband. She's unmarried.
Yes.
He goes to war. He promises that she's coming back.
This is her mom's sister.
Her mom's sister, the auntie, and she wants nothing more than to be in love and get married. He dies and he does not return. She ends up dying, but her longing for love and to be wed keeps her body in a state of animation.
Yes.
And she then feeds on young unmarried girls.
Yes.
To get her vitality up.
Yes.
And keep going forward.
Yes.
Also, there is a cat, which
Blanche.
is magic.
Yes.
And is Gorgeous's cat?
No. The cat
shows up on the train?
No.
Where does the cat come
Riley, you are not paying attention. Gorgeous writes a letter to her aunt. Okay, we have to back up a little bit.
Okay.
Gorgeous is upset.
Right.
Because her mom has been dead for 6 years.
Right.
Six or maybe 8 years. I can't remember what they said. So I think it's 8 years. I think it's like since she's been 8, she's now like 16 or 17. And her mom's been dead. And her father, who is a film composer and travels a lot, comes home to their apartment. We assume it's an apartment. We only see them interact on the patio. There's only a balcony through which we have to also watch all of the action through like this
window pane shots. Yeah.
It's a cool fucking patio, by the way.
Great bit. Yeah.
I mean, I guess we do see her in her bedroom and we do see aspects of the apartment, but like most of the action, including all of her memories of her father, like take place on the patio.
Yeah.
So that's neither here nor there. Dad has brought home a beautiful young woman who immediately introduces herself to Gorgeous as I'm your new mother.
Yes, and there's also always a fan blowing on her.
There's always a fan blowing on her. She's
Yes.
always walking as if she's Galadriel stepping through the woods. You know what I mean? She's ethereal, and she's also dressed in the same white scarf that we see her mother wore in flashbacks. So it's almost like her mother's ghost has come back in a way, even though that's not literally what's
Not
happening.
what it is.
It's not what it is.
Yeah.
But Gorgeous is so upset that she no longer wants to go on summer vacation to the cabin that her father has because she doesn't want to hang out with her new stepmom. And so she tells her friends, instead of doing that, we're going to go visit my aunt, who I haven't seen for 10 years.
Right. And
She hasn't seen since her mother's funeral.
The friends' plans were also canceled. They were going to go to the training camp,
They were going to go to the training camp.
which they were very excited about.
Yes. And then
But
what
they could
happened to
not-
cancel the training camp?
The teacher's girlfriend was having a baby. Someone was sick. I don't remember. That
We
part,
should be awarded points for even remembering all.
this
By the way,
much of it. Yeah.
guys, we're telling that I have no notes. I don't have any notes for this episode. I didn't
off the
write
dome.
anything down.
Yeah. But for some reason that was canceled. So they all
So they all
decide,
need something to do for summer
this
vacation.
group of friends and their
So-
teacher, who they all have a crush on.
Yeah, Mr. Togo,
Mr. Togo is going to come join them.
who drives around in a little dune buggy.
A silly little dune buggy. And he's just going to go spend summer vacation with 7 female
And
students.
nobody's concerned about this at
Not a
all.
problem.
No, everyone's fine with it. So Blanche shows up. Blanche the cat shows up because she tearfully writes her auntie, sends the letter, and then she's coming home, and Blanche is sitting on the mailbox,
That's what it is.
pointing out the letter.
Right.
And so
Okay.
she's like, a new cat, and my aunt wrote me back.
Yeah.
So obviously the cat came there,
Yes.
materialized there as the, as the spirit answering her letter, and then
Yes.
turns out to be the spirit of the house.
Yes. And it is mentioned several times that a regular cat can open doors, but only a magic cat can close them.
Can close them. So in Japanese folklore, I'm reading this off of the internet right now. Ghost cats, or kaibyo, are supernatural cats. This is like a thing, right? So the kaibyo is a general term for supernatural cat in Japanese folklore. They are also considered, so there's like different classes. There's the the bakeneko. This is hard
How
to
do you
say.
spell it?
Bakeneko. I think it's Bakeneko.
Bakaniko.
The Nekomata.
Neko means
Neko.
cat.
Bakeneko.
Neko is
Okay,
cat.
great.
Yeah.
So it's a yokai cat known for its ability to shapeshift, often into human form, and sometimes depicted as mischievous or even dangerous.
Gotcha.
Kind of there. There's the Nekomata, which is another type of yokai cat, often depicted with 2 tails. I don't think it's that one. That's like Tails from Sonic, though, maybe.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
And then there's the Maneki Neko. While it's not a ghost cat in the traditional sense, the Maneki Neko is a popular figurine believed to bring good luck and often seen in shops and homes. We've all seen that. That's a good luck cat.
Yeah, of course.
But basically, like, I think for Japanese audiences, the idea of like a supernatural cat is like, oh, okay, we get this.
Makes sense. They're
Makes
already
sense.
on board.
Yeah.
Okay. So all of that. So that's
But one named
basically-
Blanche, I don't know.
That's basically what's happening. This is the corpse of her dead
The
aunt
reanimated corpse and spirit.
and spirit, who lives, the body physically lives for its longing for love and to be married, but has to eat unmarried young girls.
Yes. Lures unmarried. Well, I don't even think it's young. She just said unmarried women.
Unmarried girls, yeah.
Unmarried women to
Women, yeah.
to the house.
Yes.
So let's talk about the horror aspects of this, I guess.
let's go through some of the kills.
Let's go through the kills, because this is essentially a slasher movie.
It is.
It becomes a slasher movie where
it's a monster in the house, but the house is the monster, basically.
Yes. And one by one, the girls are picked off. Now,
Also, it's 7, like, because they're each killed as related to their
personality traits.
personality and or vice or desire or whatever.
Yes.
Yeah.
And in an interesting turn of events, Gorgeous, who is by all means the Sidney Prescott of this movie is not the final girl.
No.
She's basically killed and reanimated as a ghost herself halfway through the movie, a little more than halfway through the movie.
Yeah.
And it turns out like Fantasy is the final girl of this movie, which is kind of fun because Fantasy is the one who is the first to witness the supernatural goings on. But because they keep saying Fantasy, you're so fantastical, nobody believes her.
Right. They think it's her imagination.
Which is real. I really like that device. That's a very fun device. It'd be like the girl who cries wolf is the one trying to tell everybody that like the unbelievable thing is happening and nobody believes her. That's very fun.
Right.
Not that she's like necessarily cried wolf before, but just that she's
just dreamy.
She's got an imagination.
Things.
Yeah. Okay. So
first
Mac.
of all,
Okay. Yeah.
Mac.
First of all, Mac.
Yeah. So
She buys
Mac
a
gets
watermelon from the watermelon demon. The watermelon demon's reveal is also the most cartoonish thing I've ever seen and reminded me of like something out of The Legend of Zelda. Like he is a Zelda merchant.
Yeah.
Like he is straight up like out of Ocarina of Time.
Yeah. Caitlin was watching this with us, but also was like tuning out because it was just like too much. But when he bought him, she goes, "Oh no, I don't like him. I don't like that at all."
Yeah.
He's an odd, stout, sort of sinisterly playful fellow who sells watermelons. He pops up from behind a watermelon as it's removed with his quite watermelon-like head. He's
the threshold character. He is the threshold monster that you meet on the edge of our world and the supernatural world.
He's the old man at the gas station that says, "Oh, kids that go up there, don't come back." Character.
Yep.
And that's pretty much what we get from that. So Mac gets a watermelon from him. They think maybe she stole it. She says, "No, of course I paid for it." But neither here nor there. She goes to put it in the refrigerator, and we'll just refer to her as Ghost Aunt. I don't know what we should call her.
Yeah, what's the aunt's name?
She says, "Well, the refrigerator is broken," but I think we know why she's saying that because it's full of children or women.
Yes.
But she says, "We'll chill the watermelon in the well, the old-fashioned way." So they go and they place the watermelon in the well. Now, when Mac returns,
which is apparently something that they used to do to keep things chilled back in the day.
Makes sense. Yeah. And they're all very excited about this. They're also all very excited about just generally anything, I would say.
It's
a lot of excitement.
These girls are never bored.
No, the way they gleefully divvy up the tasks. Sweet is quite excited to clean the house.
She's sweet.
Yeah. Mac is quite excited to cook. Melody, of course, handles the music. Gorgeous puts on makeup. Kung Fu fights a
we have
chandelier.
Not even talked about Kung Fu yet.
Theme. Yeah.
Kung Fu, my favorite character in the movie.
She's kind of the best. Yeah.
I can't find the aunt's name.
Kung Fu has a really kick-ass musical theme. There's like
yeah.
Every time she has to like do some kung fu action.
And Kung Fu has like supernatural Kung Fu powers.
Yeah. It's like wire work.
Flips, kind of flies, can like jump 12 feet in the air.
Yeah.
Like at one point is able to fend off like poltergeist level activity. Kung Fu is tried to be killed pretty early on, and she survives well into the movie.
Yes.
And dies a hero's death.
Yeah, very much so. That first bit too, when the chandelier spike comes out and kills like a claymation lizard.
Oh yes,
because Kung Fu chops it out of the air.
Yes,
it's like, what are we doing? But anyways, we digress.
Blanche eats the lizard.
Yes, and Blanche the cat eats the lizard. But so Mac is, I don't exactly remember this, pulled into, I guess you don't see Mac's death. It's left a little mysterious. But
yes, we just know that Mac goes to
retrieve the watermelon.
Yeah, goes to retrieve the watermelon and just never comes back.
Yes. When Sweet goes to
Fantasy.
When Fantasy goes
How dare you confuse these 7 identical girls.
Find Mac. Where is she gone? They say maybe she went to the potato field. We all know Mac loves potatoes. She goes to pull the watermelon up out of the well, and what is it but Mac's severed, decaying head?
This is my favorite part of the movie.
Yeah. Which then is fully reanimated.
flying around.
Yeah.
Says her name. That's a horrific part when she's holding it in her hands and it's like fantasy.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
really creepy. And then she flies around and bites Fantasy on the butt. So that's Mac's death, but it happens off camera.
Yes. Kung Fu also goes to investigate that later. She gets in a full sort of like fight with
Wood.
firewood and
Yeah.
severed head and all sorts of things, and then just generally brushes it off.
Yep.
She's like, huh, how strange. I must have imagined that. And then just sort of like walks away.
Yeah, she goes, everyone keeps saying maybe it's just an illusion.
Yeah.
It's like, how many illusions are happening? This is also like one of those movies where it's like, to me, the real world seems just as haunted and supernatural in this
The fact
movie than the haunted house.
Which I think is largely the point of the film.
True. Good point.
But
Sweet's
okay.
next.
Sweet's next. She is cleaning and redoing the bedding and is attacked by pillows and mattresses and is trapped
Stripped
in a doll,
of all of her clothes.
stripped of her clothes.
Maybe put into a doll temporarily, but ultimately ends up in the giant clock in the house.
Yeah, which also that's a pretty scary. And
That
the
was a
clock is
creepy
like
image.
blood and this green ooze dripping into the gears. This is also the point at which I think we have to bring up that the movie gets a little horny.
Yes, but again, it's like the horniness of like I described it as like asexual horniness, and this isn't like I don't want to, I listen. I don't know enough about asexuality to like make any judgment. So I'm sorry if I'm offending anybody, but what I mean is like it feels like the horniness of a, let's say this is maybe more accurate, of like a 10-year-old boy who has no idea what sex is or has any sexual desire, but is just sort of like bemused by the idea of people being naked.
The female form.
Yeah, just like there's a place in France where naked ladies dance. Like that's the level of sexuality that this film has. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It feels very like school ground silly. You know?
Yeah. But this is where we start getting some, some sneaky titty.
Some young actresses are disrobing, and it is a little, this is like, I don't know. I really hope everyone, even if they're over 18, they feel too young to be, but it's also like not very sexualized. That's the thing.
Yeah. And I mean, this is becoming like two white guys discuss Japan, but like it does feel very Japanese. Like, like in that whole, I don't need to explain that. You have the internet. But it does. It feels
like
very like
the father's advice of like, how do I explain this? I don't need to. You have the internet.
Go on the internet. But it is very much in that kind of world of this sort of like, it's about innocence and
yes. It
I don't
feels
know.
all.
Anyways,
I think
it needs to at least be brought up.
It
'Cause it's there.
it feels, and look, I'm not trying to like justify the nudity in this movie at all, but there is this recurring theme of like, they come in and they find that all of her clothes are gone, right? Or she's gone, but all of her clothes are there. And they kind of joke about it, be like, is she stripping in here? He. Is she like doing a strip tease by herself? And I think it is a sort of thing of like the initiation of like the security is stripped away from these girls. And then eventually to the point where their limbs are being stripped away from them. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
That they're like literally losing their forms. And that's kind of the whole thing of the movie. I don't think the bits of nudity that we get are necessary, but
they're not like, I don't know, whatever. They are what they are. We didn't make the
not
movie,
up
okay?
to us. Yeah, we're just describing what we saw.
But anyway, so Sweet becomes trapped in the doll. Who is in the bath? Is that Gorgeous in the bath?
Gorgeous is in the bath, and the hair. I feel like her hair shows up in the bath and tries to like drag her down,
pull her down into the bath.
and maybe that's where she actually dies, and then her ghost goes upstairs to the other room. Like we're not. It's not clear if she dies then or dies when her like again. her skin comes off. Like we have all this, like, you know, when that David Lynch moment of like her literal form breaks apart and then she's just burning fire underneath. You know what I mean? The dismembering happens there.
All that mirror stuff is great. That's really a fun
I love
scene.
that
It's
stuff.
Gorgeous,
That was
gorgeous in
creepy.
front of the mirror, and the mirror keeps changing between her and her aunt, or her like mismatched with what she's doing.
And then later Prof sees her as the bride and Kung Fu walking out of the house, and then looks in the mirror and realizes she can only see Kung Fu in the mirror. That was really fun. She goes back and forth with
that's
that.
a great bit. Yeah.
Do you remember that one shot? We didn't talk about it. This is sort of going off again, where they're all, it's like when they first get to the aunt's house and they're settling down before dinner, and like I can't remember who's doing it, but one of the girls is like blinking from one eye to the other eye, and the lens is going from one angle to another angle.
Yeah, that's before they're in the house. Yeah, the camera one, camera two. Like,
which is like a very fun little,
and it sets
like
up
a thing that kids do.
It sets up that Prof can't see without her glasses, because she says, "You're so pretty without your glasses." And she says,
that's right.
But I can't see anything, which comes into play later.
Briefly.
Yeah.
So, okay, so Gorgeous dies either in the tub or when she burns up in front of the mirror.
Yeah.
Then we have Melody getting eaten by the piano, which is a wild scene.
Yes, Melody starts playing the house theme, which
Do, 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 do.
so on and so forth. She becomes entranced by this theme. She can't stop playing. We also have not yet mentioned the dancing plastic skeletons. Which
the one. I think it's just one
just the one
dancing
guy?
skeleton. I think it's the one guy who.
This is like a skeleton that you buy as a Halloween decoration.
Again, in the Target section, Halloween
not
section.
Realistic skeleton. This is a plastic skeleton.
And I think it's supposed to be a plastic skeleton.
They're like, ha ha ha. Anyways, it comes alive and features quite prominently in the movie.
In many shots, it's just like upstaging everyone in the background, waving around, and they don't notice.
Yeah. So he's dancing away. She's entranced by this. The cat does its magic eye green light.
Green light.
Lets you know the cat's up to no good.
Yeah.
And her fingers become severed from her.
By the piano.
And continue to play, which is a great little bit. And also I pointed out, it was so nice to see that they took the detail to play the correct notes for the theme on the piano. I really appreciated that. I hate it watching someone in a movie play an instrument and being like, that is not even remotely what that would sound like.
You know what, Riley? If I ever have to play an instrument in a movie, like fake play, you're going to be my tutor.
I like filmmakers, please. That's why, again,
that'd be a good gig.
It would be.
Be
Actually,
the
I know someone
fake
that,
musician coach on movie sets.
I know someone. Chalamet, Complete Unknown, really learned to do it. Really did it. Respect it. Anyways, that's a huge digression. But so, who discovered? Is it Prof? Who discovers her playing and tries to kind of snap her out of it?
I think Prof. At this point, like Prof and Kung Fu are discovering Gorgeous.
Oh yeah, and Gorgeous leaves and locks them in.
Yeah, and then I think
because she's now someone else.
Is anybody else left? I guess not. Like, is Fantasy left with anybody? Sweet's dead, Mac's dead. I think it's just Gorgeous like Fantasy's up there trying to pull Melody out of the piano.
Yeah, and Kung Fu is,
or maybe they all join. Like Fantasy's
looking for
first.
Gorgeous. Yeah, and Prof is doing something. Anyways, in a animated over film sequence, Melody is consumed by the piano. First fingers, then arms, then the piano just like eats her.
And then her own severed head looks at her legs being eaten by the piano and says something like, "Oh, very naughty."
Yeah. Yeah, I forgot that part.
And that's why I mean there's like the I should say asexual. It's like the non-sexual horniness of this movie. Like it's not a sexual moment, but it's like presented as one to the characters of being like, ooh,
yeah.
It's weird.
Weird. So she's gone. And also throughout after each kill, the auntie who originally was in a wheelchair becomes, she can walk, and then she's dancing, and then she's becoming more vital and full of life as the girls die, and she keeps making.
Yeah, remember when she dances on the rafters during I think the piano scene? She's up there dancing.
Yeah. She keeps kind of making reference like, you'll see her soon. Then I don't know.
Then things get
out.
messy. Then what happens is Kung Fu, they figure out that the cat painting needs to be destroyed.
Right.
And Kung Fu is like running to kick the painting in to destroy the ghost cat. And furniture starts to fly at her. She kicks it all away, but then the lamp comes down from the ceiling, the overhead light, and swallows her whole.
Swallows her up, yeah.
And then her severed head is floating around in a realm of animated ghosts and basically sees the spirits of all the young women that have been killed. And in a final last-ditch effort, her severed leg flies out of the light, kicks the cat painting, and then the cat painting starts to explode blood into the room.
Right.
The blood fills up. Now fills up the room, and now Fantasy and Prof are floating on like furniture pieces. Prof's glasses fall off. A piggy bank starts wearing them, and then Prof falls into the blood pool, dies.
Yep.
And then tries to drag Fantasy down with her.
Yeah.
And then Gorgeous as a ghost comes downstairs and as Fantasy washes up on the steps and is like, Gorgeous, you're still alive, you're alive, you're alive. And then cuddles up to Gorgeous, and basically Gorgeous is like cradling her, and we're kind of left with Fantasy is obviously like killed by Gorgeous. I don't think we see Fantasy actually die.
No, we don't, as far as I remember.
Because also Mr. Togo shows up at one point. Oh, yeah, that's right. Mr. Togo shows up and then turns into bananas.
Right.
And
He's been trying to get there the whole time, but he keeps stopping to like eat noodles, and he gets stuck in traffic. And,
he loves noodles.
Yeah. He's just kind of like goofing off the whole time.
Remember the crazy truck drivers?
Yeah.
The rock and roll truckers who are honking at Mr. Togo's dune buggy?
That's a thing. Have you ever seen that Vice little mini doc about the
like
Japanese
mod truckers?
Yeah, they decorate their trucks all up and like dress all cool and
fun.
It's like a whole cultural thing. They're really cool.
Are they bad or are they fun?
I think they're fun. I think it's like cool. It's like rockabilly vibe.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's fair.
Yeah. Anyways.
So basically it's left with the idea that like all of these girls are now going to be ghosts in the house. They do hint at like they're all going to be able to like see each other again. But
they're in like the ghost realm now.
It ends with Gorgeous's new stepmom, who had said earlier in the film, I'll show up and talk to her at her auntie's later in this week and we'll smooth things over.
First trial as a mother.
Yes.
Yeah.
She floats her way through the watermelon farmer's stand.
Just like caressing leaves and like touching grapes.
Again, Galadriel walking everywhere that she goes. And then she goes into the house. The house is like actually like more beautiful. Like all the flowers are in bloom.
Yeah, it's come back to life.
And then Gorgeous shows up in like traditional Japanese robes.
Full tradish, yeah.
And like opens up the house to her, and they sit down.
With little dramatic, very dramatic, tiny footsteps. The restrictive skirt. It's all very like early Japan.
Yes.
Like, yeah.
The little her like feet moving in that like like almost like forward moonwalk motion. So it's like really, really nice physical work in that scene, I have to say. And then this is a point where we remember that her stepmom and dad are not married yet. And she herself is an unmarried woman. And we realize that, oh boy, Gorgeous is going to consume her and she's going to be another victim. And that's basically...
Well, she asks, where are your friends? And she says, they're asleep, but they'll wake up soon.
That's right.
They wake up when they're hungry.
Yes. So they're all going to eat her mother and then her new stepmom. And that's basically where the movie ends. Yeah. And then we have like an animated credit sequence where the girls dance. And then the credits roll up a tongue into a house that doesn't look like the house in the movie. It's just another house.
Just an animated 70s
Just a
style.
weird animated, like Monty Python looking house illustration.
And that, honestly, I'm amazed that we were able to recap it with that much clarity and cohesion.
And no notes. I didn't write down one thing.
I could still see it behind my eyelids.
Did we leave anything out? You let us know, listeners.
Yeah. Wow.
There you go. A wild, weird movie.
Mm-hmm.
Controversial moments.
Mm-hmm.
Crazy moments.
Mm-hmm.
We have to end this by asking what we always ask. How many what's out of 10 what's are we giving this movie? And would you recommend it to our Club Scouts?
There's so many things we could choose.
Blanches.
Yeah.
Watermelons. Dune buggies.
Banana men. Questionable nipples.
Yes. Uncomfortable teenage nudity. I think houses. We could just do houses. We could do white scarves. We could do
how about
World War II film strips.
How about filmmaking trick tropes?
Okay. How many filmmaking trick tropes out of 10 filmmaking trick tropes would you give House? And would you recommend it to our listeners?
On this scale, every single possible one is used, just for that to be abundantly clear. It's one of the strangest movies I've ever seen. It is like you can't look away from it, because if you look away, you like miss a bit or like a something. I would say it's definitely rewatchable.
I've seen it twice, and I'm here to tell you it is rewatchable.
I would not say this is a good movie. It is like watching 90 minutes of insane Japanese commercials.
Mm-hmm.
It is a fever dream. It is a psychedelic vortex. I did love it. I don't know what number to put on this. I cannot fathom a scale upon which to judge this. Even I guess
judge it by its own merits, as what it is, what it's trying to be, and what
as what it is. It's a 10 out of 10.
I would agree with you.
As a movie, I don't know.
Riley, you're forgetting the first rule of House. It's a movie.
Oh, it is a movie.
Yes,
that's true.
It tells you at the beginning.
We've established one thing.
Yeah. It's a movie. So we do have to judge it as a movie because it proclaims that it's a movie.
It's 7.5.
Okay.
As a movie. As House, the movie, fucking 1,000 out of 10.
Yes.
And yes, I recommend it.
Yeah.
I recommend it.
I do too. I think I'm with you. I mean, I really do like this movie. This is a movie that I do think is it's part of the Criterion Collection. Okay,
yeah, it's in there for a reason.
It's a unique film, and it's also like a unique timepiece.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, just to watch it for the things that you see on camera in terms of like costumes and colors. We didn't even talk about the moment where like when he's got his butt stuck in the bucket. Isn't there like there's like an old man, like a shoe shiner or somebody there, and there's like a couple of animals there, right? Mm-hmm. Isn't there like a random like donkey or something?
There are a lot of these stacked frames with like animals in the foreground, and also it's just very whimsical. It's
like, you know what it is? This movie, it's a movie.
A movie
is sort of, you know what it is? It's like it is a theme park dark ride.
Yeah.
At like a weird, outdated pier that you go to on like a road trip with your family. And you're like, wait a minute, they have a ride with animatronics in here? And you ride through it and you're like, they threw everything into this dark ride.
Yeah. It's some guy like smoking a cigarette, smells like whiskey and aftershave, like pulls a lever and off you go.
Yeah. Yeah. And you're basically, it's like an old carnival dark ride.
Yeah.
And that's how it feels. Like even like the actors and characters at times feel like animatronics, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it's got that appeal to it as well. that's what I mean. Like, there's so much to look at in this movie. That's why you can rewatch it. It's like, I got to go on that ride again to see, like, I was looking at the well in the head. What did I miss behind my back? You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Yeah. There's so many weird details.
I do love this movie. It's very strange. I think I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10.
Great. Love it.
As a movie. And there's nothing else like it. And I agree. As House, the movie, I give it 1,000 out of 10.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
It's one of the more interesting, weirdest pieces of pop culture I think you could probably. And it's not like The Room, where it's like so bad it's entertaining.
No,
like, that's the thing. Is like
it's something else.
This isn't
its own thing.
It's not a bad movie that's so bad that it's good.
No,
it's not a boring movie either.
No.
So that's why I think it's like, it is a good movie.
Yeah.
It's entertaining. It's weird. It's wild. Like, I didn't even like, no notes. Our retention on this movie is pretty fucking good.
I'm amazed actually how much we remember.
And you will never forget it once you've seen it.
Yeah, that's for sure. Yeah, it'll stick with you.
Yeah.
And I mean, the fact that it does have this like much deeper layer is really interesting.
Yeah.
Like, that it is like this surrealist unpacking of a deep subconscious trauma.
Yeah.
So it is like, it's really something. It's a go watch it if you didn't.
It's wild.
I'll tell you what, we couldn't possibly spoil it. If you've gotten this far in the episode and you haven't watched it, you could still absolutely watch it.
Yeah. And I think, like, if you think you know what we're talking about, you don't. Like, you have to just see it to go. It's sort of like an initiation. You know what I mean? Much like all the girls who die and become ghosts, I think watching House is an initiation. Once you're in that club, you're in that club.
Yeah.
There's the pre-House and there's the post-House version of you.
That's true. That's true.
Go watch it.
All right.
And again, I think I mentioned this last week's episode. I don't know if we did in this one. Like, the gore's not really gross and gory. I mean, some of the ideas put forth are gross.
Yeah.
But like, even the severed fingers on the piano look like Halloween decorations.
It's all very Halloween decoration. Nothing's like grounded in reality.
No. And like, when the piano fills up with blood, it's like paint. It's like animation. It's not.
Yeah.
It's like Yellow Submarine.
Yeah.
It's not like real gore.
Yeah. Totally.
So I think you're all right. It's like being in a haunted. It's like being in a haunted house. It's like a couple steps. It's like 1 or 2 steps gorier than the Haunted Mansion at Disneyland.
Yeah. It's like if you like went on the Haunted Mansion at Disneyland with like a serious head full of acid.
Yes. Yeah. Again, Dark Ride.
Which
Again,
I'm sure
Dark
some
Ride.
of you have done, probably.
Yeah. Dark Ride vibes. Dark Ride vibes. This movie's a Dark Ride.
Yeah.
This movie would make an incredible Dark Ride for sure. All right, everybody. Let us know what you think. We want to hear your thoughts on this film. We did our best.
Yeah.
That's it. All right. Next month we will watch As Above, So Below, and we'll get to the heart of whether or not it's a found footage movie.
Very good.
And then in the meantime, we'll see you back here next week for an all new episode on BCC The Other Side. Don't forget, you can get your merch. Derek Cole's new designs over on our TeePublic shop. I'll put the link to that in this episode. We love you guys. Where there's love, there's kisses.
Thank you, Patreons. Give us one more house on the way out.
Oh.
If you've seen it, you know how well he does that. It's like so spot on. All right, goodbye.
Bigfoot Collectors Club is produced and engineered by Riley Bray and executive produced by Riley Bray and Michael McMillian. Our theme song, Come Alone, is by Suneaters, courtesy of Lotuspool Records. Follow Suneaters on Spotify. For 3 bonus episodes every month and ad-free episodes, check out BCC The Other Side at patreon.com/BigfootCollectorsClub.